We're here at the 2011 National Turkey Federation Convention in Tucson, and with us we have Dr. Tom Elam. At the convention, he has given a speech about the economic outlook for 2011 for the turkey industry and actually for the entire poultry industry. Dr. Elam, grain prices are overshadowing everything else in the economic outlook for 2011.
That's absolutely true, and it's not just grain, it's oil seeds, and particularly soybean meal, and all of our byproduct feeds as well, which tend to track with the major carbohydrate and protein sources in our diet. And we look, for example, at fat prices. White grease and yellow grease are both up around $600, $700 a ton, maybe even headed higher, and DDGS prices are tracking with corn, so there's no relief in alternative feedstuffs. And we have, as a result of these higher prices, driven our feed cost up substantially across the board for protein production. For pigs, cattle, chickens, turkeys, we're seeing today feed costs on a per pound basis that are roughly double what they were just a few years ago.
Well, 2008 was the previous year of calamity for feed cost. How will 2011 compare?
It's going to be very different, and unfortunately not different in a better way. 2008, we saw problems with the corn and soybean crops in the spring due to a late planting and very, very wet weather. Those crops ultimately recovered from that late start, and prices dropped precipitously after June and July of 2008. In 2011, the news on production's been very negative. Demand is up also due to recovering economies instead of a deteriorating economic situation, and there's no chance to recover now from the decline we've had in corn and soybean production due to the very, very dry weather last August and September in the U.S. And in addition, we've had crop problems in Russia, there are emerging crop problems in China, issues in Australia that are leading to global production dropping as well as U.S. production. So now, instead of seeing a rally and then a major decline in prices, it appears that prices will remain high and volatile for all of 2011 for all of our feed ingredients.
Well, what is your forecast for corn and soy prices in the coming year?
Well, high and volatile. I mean, it's at this point, I don't know of any analysts that are really comfortable with quoting a precise price for either corn or soybean meal or DDGS or any of the other major feed ingredients that track with carbohydrate and protein values as determined in the global marketplace. The range I've put on corn for this year is pretty wide. Cash corn basis Central Illinois somewhere between a low of 5 and a high of 7. Soybean meal between $325 and $450 a ton. And the reason that we have to do that is that our inventories on corn and soybean are so small that even slight changes in supply-demand numbers would generate some pretty significant shifts in prices, either on the upside or the downside. About the only downside that we might have between now and spring, when the planting gets underway and summer weather starts to take over as the major price maker, would be unanticipated numbers in USDA grain stocks report. In particular, if corn and soybean stocks aren't declining as fast as we would have expected them to be, that could be a bearish surprise for those prices.
Well, how is the supply of meat protein shaping up?
Overall protein production in this country will drop again in 2011. Not as much as it did last year, but it's going to decline. Beef output's going to be down because the beef cow herd keeps getting smaller. We're placing animals, fewer and fewer animals are out there to be placed in the feedlots. We've had some pretty heavy placements late last year and early this year, but we're running out of feedlot cattle outside of feedlots. Pork producers are cutting back. Broiler producers had been expanding pretty aggressively, but now they have cut back to basically no increase over last year. and turkey producers are in the process probably of cutting back on their production. So I'm expecting to see total meat production down somewhat, not 1 or 2% for 2011, but because our exports are doing pretty well, we're probably going to see per capita total protein consumption in the United States drop for the 4th straight year in a row, which is an all-time record. We've never, even in the Great Depression, seen people eat less meat 4 successive years.
What can poultry companies do to cope with this economic situation?
Well, there's not much they can do to cope with higher grain and oilseed prices other than some effective hedging programs, although it's probably too late to make a lot of money on that this year. The major price increases are already in the cash markets, absent of summer drought, which could send corn even higher than $7 a bushel. We could be talking $8, $9, $10 a bushel for corn if we had a significant drought in the Corn Belt this summer. Other than that, just good effective management programs and try to avoid selling products at a loss. I mean, a lot of this product is contracted. People need to look very, very carefully at their cost of producing live animals and what it costs to transform those into products that their customers want. And they need to be looking at contract prices that will at least cover their cost before they produce product. In other words, try to avoid selling on the spot market and try to sell as much as you can at contracted prices that will at least recover your cost.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Elam.